I'd like to share a little bit of a letter from a viewer with you. It says, "Dear Barbara, I have a problem with a very demanding friend. She calls constantly to whine and complain about everything. I find myself making excuses to get off the phone. If I don't talk to her for a day, she leaves 20 messages on my machine, and she even calls my boyfriend's house. It's to the point now that she is driving me crazy. I don't know what to do." I read this and I thought this is a great idea for a show. I hear from listeners and viewers all the time about this problem. All right, this is Kathy. She wrote the letter. She inspired the show. She's just one of the people we're going to be talking to today who are tired of having to rescue their messed up friends. You're going to hear their stories, get some solutions for dealing with your friends who need to be fixed. And when we come back, I'm going to give you a quiz to see what kind of friends you really have, so don't go away. For you to take. Just answer yes or no to each question, okay? Do you have certain friends whose phone calls you dread receiving? Wait a minute, because it means listening to a half hour of complaining, all right? Think about that, yes or no? Yes. Right, next, do you find yourself avoiding conversations with them, either pretending you're not home, or do you end up not answering the phone and listening to them on your answering machine? Yes or no? Number 3. Do you have a friend you've given advice to over and over and over again, and you feel frustrated because they never seem to take it and they call you back and complain again? All right? Finally, do you have somebody in your life who you feel needs you so much and you're afraid to say no to them because they are going to fall apart? Well, if you've answered yes to any of these, you probably have friends you are tired of trying to rescue and fix. And that's what we are talking about today. Now, we started out because Kathy wrote me a letter. Where are you? Okay. Let's talk about this. And that letter was long. That was just a paragraph of the letter. It went on and on and on. How did you do in this quiz?
I answered yes to every single question.
You did. All right. Hold this up here. Tell me about your friend. How long have you been friends? And what the problem is. Why you're feeling like she's driving you crazy. You've been avoiding her.
Okay. We've been friends for about 4 years now. And she's like a compulsive, obsessive boyfriend. She calls, "Where have you been? I thought you were going to call me. Why didn't you call me back? Call me before you go to bed. Call me when you wake up." It's driving me crazy. And then, like you said, I screen all my calls, but she still finds some way that I just, by chance, pick up the phone. It happens to be her. And she's one of those people who has a different crisis every day.
Like what kind of things?
I broke a nail. I almost got cut off on the freeway. No, I'm serious. But these are true. And she'll call up like, it's just the most drastic thing. And
she's a drama queen.
Oh, yeah. And she doesn't understand when I say, "Oh, well, I have to go do homework, or I have to go do something else." She gets offended and like, "Oh, you don't want to talk to me," and it just drives me crazy.
What would she think if she knew that you'd written a letter to me and you were so upset that you came on national television to talk about this, but you had, these are your parents, I know they're laughing at you here, but you hadn't confronted her? Would she be shocked that it's upsetting you this much?
Yeah, she would probably think that I was ridiculous for overreacting like this, that if a normal friend would do that. Yeah.
Wouldn't mind all this stuff.
Yeah, completely.
Why haven't you said no to her? Why haven't you said to her, "You're driving me crazy, you call me 20 times a day, you're too possessive"?
Because I'm too nice. I can't, I feel bad. I mean, she's kind of lonely, and I feel bad, you know. Stupid.
So instead of saying anything, she's walking around thinking negative thoughts about her, avoiding her, probably feeling terrible when she's even with you. All right, we're gonna give you some homework later, so thank you very much. All right, can anyone else relate to this problem here? Yeah?
Well, I've had a few friends like that. And the worst one was, well, I grew up with her. And after high school, she married a very abusive man.
Abusive?
Abusive, yeah, physically and verbally. And I tried to help her out as much as I could, lent her my car for a couple weeks, that kind of thing. Well, one time, her husband followed me to the ATM at the bank. And I didn't think anything of it, and I did my transaction while I was talking to him. The next day, they were in front of my house, and I found out later I had interrupted them breaking in to find my ATM card.
They broke into her husband?
And her.
And her broke into your home? to find your bank card.
Yeah, see, and when I went there and we found out it was broken into, her husband had a record, so she told me, now make sure you tell the police Bob has a record, and that way they won't think it's him, but he is a guest in your house. And I didn't put two and two together.
So her husband's an ex-convict.
Well,
or
basically.
Her boyfriend. I'm trying to get down to the...
Now he is. At the time, he was
that.
just a teenager who had a lot of trouble.
So she calls you, she complains about this guy, she goes on and on?
Well, the thing was, after this, during that whole time, I had helped her through that. But they had took off with my ATM card. She used to work at a bank. She knew how to get around a little security.
But did you, here's your friend, she's stealing, basically, right? She's stealing
Well,
from
I
you.
had no idea she was stealing until I found out she had took $7,000 out of my account.
And what did you say?
I didn't talk to her. She had run off.
Right. And that was it?
Well, I got a letter from prison, and she asked me to forgive her. And
see what this is? This was not a surprise. I mean, it sounds like, oh, this wonderful friend one day stole my money, but this comes from the kind of thing we're hearing about, which is not setting the boundaries. Not setting boundaries with people and saying, no, I don't like the way you're treating me, because we're so nice. I mean, we're so nice. You're like nodding your head wildly. What? I know you have something to say about this.
Well, I have a friend who calls me in the middle of the night with the smallest things. I mean, it's like it has no significance of any kind. You know, she calls me, she's like all frantic over nothing. And then I'll tell her, just be quiet because you're just paranoid about something, right? Sometimes I just want to tell her, why don't you just write Dear Abby and tell her?
How many times a week would you say she calls you?
Three to four times a week.
3 to 4 times a week?
Yes.
At night?
Late in the night, yes.
Late in the night,
yes.
Waking you up?
Yes.
Right. Do you confront her? Do you say to her?
No.
No? Why not?
I don't know. I'm too nice. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to...
We're hearing this again. We're hearing this again. So instead, you go to sleep, 11 o'clock, knowing that probably in about an hour, the phone's going to ring, you're going to be woken up, you're going to have a hard time going back to sleep, you feel tired the next day,
right?
But you don't confront her and say, don't call me after 10 o'clock.
And then I don't want to take the phone off the hook because, an emergency call might come through or something, unlike her calls, of course.
Right. All right. These nice people. All right. We need to find out, why are we so nice to people who are not being nice to us? Why do we keep friends like this? Part of the problem we're hearing, these women, and probably some guys too, have a hard time saying that word, N-O, no. Next, we're going to hear from some women who had such a hard time saying no. A friend came to stay for 2 weeks, ended up staying for 8 months. So come on back. We're talking about how we end up with friends who drive us crazy by expecting us to fix their problems. And we started talking about what a hard time we're hearing many people here have saying no to people. No, don't call me in the middle of the night. No, don't call me 20 times a day. All right, we're going to come back to Kathy and to you, Dion, and find out if you're going to put up with this for the rest of your life. But first, I'd like to hear how many of you do have a hard time saying no to people in relationships, especially when they're going to get upset, all right? I want to understand this. What is so hard about saying no? What goes on inside of you? Yes. You can stand up.
I can stand up.
Yeah. See, look how nice she is, right away. She asked me for permission to stand up. Are you a really nice person?
Yes.
I thought so. Nice people don't say no, do they? It's not nice.
I had a girlfriend, she asked if she could stay with me for a couple weeks because she was breaking up with her boyfriend, and she ended up staying with me for 8 months. And every month it was something traumatic, and oh, please, and then I would say, okay. And I couldn't stand us living in my one bedroom anymore, so
One bedroom?
Uh-huh. So we moved into a 2-bedroom.
Wait, all right, let me get this straight. You had a wonderful one-bedroom apartment that you loved, and to avoid confronting your girlfriend and saying, you should have been out of here 7 months ago, you moved into a 2-bedroom apartment?
Yes. And I hibernated for 2 months in my own room, just so I could be away from her.
How did you find, well, first of all, are you still living with her?
No.
All right. What happened? What happened? Yes, she deserves a hand for that. What happened?
After a year, I finally kicked her out.
After a year?
It took me a year to kick her out.
Did you feel guilty doing it even after that year?
Yes, it was so hard to do. Because I love her, I just don't know how to be friends with her. She just sucks all of my energy out of me, just constantly, you know, why doesn't he call? How come he doesn't call me? Should I send him flowers? Just on and on and on and on. And I try to answer all of her questions.
Because you're being such a good girl. Where did you learn to be such a good girl? Who are you looking at? Is this your mother?
My mother.
Are you blaming her? Mom, stand up, Mom. Are you, look, they're even matching here. Did you teach her to be a good girl?
Yes.
Were you a good girl?
Yes, my mother.
Your mother is here? Is this like, oh, you're pushing it, they're passing the mic down. So this is, so in other words, it's your fault that her friend lived with her for a year. I want you to know that. It's your fault. So these are three nice, lovely people. But you see what happens when we are nice. Can you relate to her story?
Oh, definitely.
You've been in this kind of
I
situation.
became her mother, this friend's mother.
So not only she was involved, you were involved as well.
We all got involved, yes.
She came to all our family functions. Thanksgiving,
I hope
Christmas.
she appreciates everything she got. Thank you all for coming and talking about that. Who else has a hard time?
Hi. I have this friend from out of town who called me from out of the blue one day and says, Marianne, I'm coming into town for a small operation, and I was wondering if I could stay at your house for 2 weeks and bring a nurse. And oh, by the way, I might be bleeding a lot. And I said, Virginia, I've got to think about this one. And so I said, finally, no. I felt so guilty. I was just crushed inside. I was dying. So 6 months later, it's time for a checkup. She calls me back. She says, can I stay at your place for 10 days? And I say, 2 days. Okay, Virginia. So the third day, I get this call from her after she goes to the hospital. Marianne, I'm coming out of anesthesia now. And they say I have to leave. Can you pick me up? And so, of course, I picked her up, but then I couldn't get rid of her. She stayed on, and my whole life was disrupted, and I was taking her everywhere, and I couldn't make her leave. And Barbara, what do I do?
Okay. Now I have to talk to the guys here. Okay. You notice we are hearing from women. Guys, no guys have raised their hands. No guys are sympathizing at all. Is this a female problem? I mean, what do some of you guys think about this? Anyone think this is a little bit strange, or do you agree? Do you have the same problems? Any of the guys want to say anything about this? I do. You do? Yes?
I have a lady who is a friend of, she's married to a friend of mine. And whenever she have a problem, she doesn't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me. I know you're there. Pick up the phone. I don't want to listen to the machine. I got to talk to you now.
So you go through this as well?
So I go through it until one day she called me. I get home at 5 o'clock. She called me at 9. I said, I'm asleep. Goodbye. And she said, from now on, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Hi. I'm a man, and I don't have this problem, and all my male friends don't have this problem. And I really think it's a woman's problem. I don't see why they just can't say no. I think men are just stronger.
I don't know. All right. We're going to come back, find out if this is a woman's problem, why it is, if there's some men secretly who have this. We're going to also talk to Kathy and to Dion to figure out, are they ever going to say no to their friends, and show you how to stand up to your friends and stop being taken advantage of. Next. All right. When we left you, we heard from a man who said something, and the women were booing and hissing that it's a woman's problem, that we have friends like this. All right. Did any other men agree with him, disagree, anything? Yes?
Well, first of all, I agree entirely with him. I think this is more likely than not a woman's problem. I don't think it's a fear of confrontation and a fear of saying no. I think it's very possibly that these people involved enjoy people that depend upon them and feel some sort of power over their lives. And also, another thing is that you're not being nice by not saying no. You're leading them on and making them more and more dependent upon you until you finally do come on a national television show and tell them that you're not actually your friend. You're really pulling the rug out from under them.
All right, yes, yes.
Well, I was raised to be a good girl, and unfortunately, you were raised to be heartless.
See, he does have a point, And for anyone who has a friend who for a year, 2 years is depending on you, saying, I can't live without you, you have to ask yourself, what is my investment in not saying no? What is keeping me from saying no? And when we say, I don't want to hurt their feelings, maybe there's a part of us that likes feeling more powerful, more together. After all, if you have friends who are really messed up, how messed up can you feel if you always have someone around you who is in worse shape than you? Sometimes you have to think about that. Yes?
Well, I have a friend who just keeps bothering me all the time with things she wants me to run over and do, bring her a blouse for a date, etc. And I'll turn off my oven while I'm baking cookies and go do it. So I need to know how to say no.
So in other words, you're letting her control decisions in your life, what you do, your
as
time.
As soon as I hear my name, Joan, I go, okay.
So when you were, let me ask you a question. When you were little,
yes,
and you were asked to do something in your house, did you do it?
Sure.
Sure. And if you didn't do it, what would have happened?
There would have been consequences.
Okay. See, when she calls you, the adult you, however old you are, doesn't respond. There's a little 5-year-old that says, oh, somebody wants something from you, and I better be a good girl, and I better be good, and I better answer the phone. And it's the little girl that has never grown up into being a woman, who has boundaries and your own agenda. For anyone who's doing this, what you can do is make a list of your priorities. I go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. I want my 1-bedroom apartment. I want to be able to cook without being interrupted. And write down the list, put it on your refrigerator, read it every morning. And when someone calls you and it's not on the list, say, I'm sorry, this is my agenda. I come first, and you come second. That's the way to do it. All right. We got to go back to you because this woman is calling. Stand up here. Okay, come on over here. This woman is calling you. She's going to keep calling you. Now, this could go on for what? Another 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right?
Probably as long as she's married.
All right. You're not married now?
No.
All right. What if you got married? How do you think your husband would feel about this woman calling in the middle of the night? You think he would be thrilled about this?
No.
No. All right. So, I am going to help you practice. Okay. I'm her, all right? And I just called you last night again at midnight. It's the next day. I'm talking to you on the phone. And I'm saying, oh, gee, it was really nice talking to you last night. Thanks for being there for me. I really needed someone to talk to. Try it. Try it. Get the words out.
What do I say without being mean? I mean,
okay. Here's what you say.
Get off my line?
We're switching. Okay? I'm you. Okay. Let's say her name is Susan. Okay. Susan, I've been wanting to tell you this for a long time. I love you. I love being your friend. I care about you. But you call me at night all the time and wake me up. It hurts me. It makes me feel like I don't have my own life. It makes me feel like you don't respect my time and my needs. And I want to continue being your friend, but I have some boundaries. So here's what I need from you. I'll be happy to talk to you once a week or twice a week about this stuff, but I can't have you call me every night. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It means I love me. I love my sleep. Will that work for you? Think about it, because I don't want to lose our friendship.
Then what happens if she doesn't listen?
If she doesn't listen, you have to ask yourself if she is really your friend. Am I right? Because if she's not your friend, she won't care. You can do it. I know. All right. We'll be back, so don't go away. Okay, Kathy, we started out with you. You have two choices. You can tape the show and give it to your friend, or are you ready to make a commitment and do something?
I'm ready. I'm going to do something about it.
You're going to talk to her? Mm-hmm. All right. That's great. Remember, the person that you really need to be the best friend to first is yourself. If loving someone else is hurting you, it's not worth it. Honor your own needs, respect your own boundaries, and tell your friends what they are. Find friends who don't just take what you have, but offer you something in return. Thanks for being with me. Thanks all of you for coming.